but the girl muttered how Yoon was at it again. Suddenly there was a knock on the door, and Chin no longer understood who was under the blanket. Xiao Yun was outside the door. It turned out she went out to get some potato chip or a snack. And at that moment, her friend was lying under the blanket, and she also shuddered, realizing that it was not Xiao Yun who was holding her leg. She woke up, and the two boys were surprised to see each other. It was an awkward situation. Chin opened the door from inside the room, and Xiao began to ask why he was there. He began to have been a misunderstanding and explained that he had come to see her and had not thought that they were living together. He walked out, closed the door behind him, and propped it up with his body, realizing how awkward and uncomfortable he felt. Chin was furious at his own behavior and did not understand what kind of nonsense he was doing. The next day came. Grandfather asked why Qin Yun didn't sleep a little longer, since it was still too early to get up. Chin explained that he got up early to perhaps help someone. Grandpa called the guy very didn't tell him about his mistake last night. The zombies sensed that there were living people in the building and broke through the door. One of the guys said not to make a sound because the zombies might break down the barricade. The guys who were wounded were very scared because they would not be able to defend themselves. Grandfather slowly rose from the sofa, leaning on his stick. But Chin put his hand on his shoulder and said not to move. This matter should be left to the young. The uncle looked out through a small crack in the door to scout out the situation under the house. He watched as the zombies rushed through a boarded up window. It turned out that they were able to find them thanks to evolution. Some zombies had the intelligence of animals. Uncle sat down, realizing that it would be difficult to defeat them since there were few of them, and some were wounded. Chin Yun took a metal stick with him and walked closer to the zombies. The guys insisted that it was impossible to defeat them all. Zombies are just a side dish for her brother. The zombies turned towards the living fresh meat, but Chin kept his sharp stick ready. They rushed towards him, growling loudly and senselessly. Chin hit one sharply. He fell to the floor, and Chin accelerated towards the rest. He dodged like a really cool fighter. The zombie's reaction was very bad, and he took advantage of that. Chin turned a laser towards the enemy. At that moment, there was a strong, fiery blow, and the zombie was dead. He was slammed onto the road by Chin Yun's powerful blow. The uncle stood in shock. He thought that this girl's brother was a real monster. Chin stood among the dead zombies surrounding him and felt great. He came up and said that everything was ready. Everyone needed to be called to subdue the barricade, and he would stand guard at that moment. The barricade was successfully repaired, and there was no need to worry about the safety of this place. The wounded guys stood and rejoiced that it was finally all over. These people began to thank Chin Yun for helping them on that disastrous day. They began to move away from their grandfather, and Chin said that it was not difficult for him. But suddenly Grandpa called Chin Yun and asked him to stay. Chin agreed. Grandfather slammed the door and made sure no one was listening to what they were going to talk about. He asked Chin Yong if he had killed people because it seemed to his grandfather that he had, and more than once. Chin said that Grandpa had a sharp eye, and he was right. Chin admitted that he had killed a couple of people. Grandfather's body was weak, but he put everything on the line so that Chin would not kill anyone else, and began to unbutton his shirt. He stood up straight and asked Chin Yun in a menacing voice what his motive was for killing. Chin said that people were right when they said that nothing could be hidden from an elder. And he added that the grandfather shouldn't worry because all this youngest wants is to make a deal. He did not understand what kind of deal was being discussed and asked for more details. He offered to take him as a student and teach him all his knowledge in martial arts. In exchange, he would heal all his granddaughter, and then he would be able to take him for training. Chin said that he agreed with his words and slowly reached out for the metal stick. He directed it at his grandfather, beginning to heal him. Grandfather suddenly felt a power in his body and could not believe that it was possible. Chin said that it was not that difficult for him because he knew how to heal the old. What had been few days. He's died that time in the supermarket, and he should feel guilty. He said that they really irritated him and that he was leaving so that he wouldn't have to see them. The boy kicked the chair with his foot out of anger, and the
I
uncle
don't think it's good for nothing, man.
so that he wouldn't leave.
I don't think
He was
it's
told that he would return with them. Also, he said these were terrible. Something is a mistake. Chin told her not to say such things. There was a deafening silence around the house. Chin told his sister to find a place to put her on. That's the boy's death. The boy's movement on there. Very
I'll take the phone.
it's scary.
Okay.
Everything. This should be the main thread. Zombie dragon being reborn, mutated because zombie virus turns into a much larger monster. Suggested a technique before he noticed them. That was dangerous, and they needed to find
Will you let me know?
the street was empty. They went
Okay, I'm sorry.
and Mr. Sister agreed. Loud shots came from the store. Boom, bam! A few seconds later, there was an explosion. The zombies store from the.
It's cool.
This was not.
And looks like come on and stay close for now.
They fell but remained
Girl,
and the boys.
the end of your pencil stamp.
The zombies seemed to be. It was strange. Even Chin did not
Pencil
understand
stamp.
why they were so smart. And the whole Chin already thought that there was no way to find sister who was so small. So the zombies came up with Chin. Since this type of some intelligence and new strategy, they understood one thing. This fear. And when sister pointed to the roof of the it seemed there was no, this was some kind of super this here. More angry, growling and screaming. Immediately understanding who was the boss and who was simply managing the groups. The guy wasn't stupid, and he understood that in order to control such a large group and strong, he understood that this little stronger than Chin, pointing his finger at Chin and growling something so understand him. The red zombie manager immediately listening to his boss. Simple either. A flame of hot fire burst. He could also, but Chin was not stupid. The flames from both bottoms of them, attracted by the red zombie, the larger one began to attack him. Stick deflected the force of the zombie's attack, so to speak, in the air, holding back. But the blue laser hit the zombie and sent it flying without harming Chin. Together in time and was able to her abilities. Chin thanked her because she had made his mission easier, and now he was in full swing to finish these bastards. Stick pierced the chest of the huge. He was in great pain and some control over his hands. Chin created a fence of sharp. dead on the floor. Sister. She didn't just
Okay.
in his body. She was calling her friend. She was changing up. They were defenseless. As they were letting down, everyone thought he was dead. As we began to sister standing. He took a stand and finished off the balloon. Thank you. The boys moved on and discussed how John Fuller the strength to fight zombies. The boys stood next to him. Talking about how they were very excited. But one of them said that they should be told himself city was full of zombies. He's scared. He needed to go back.